So I've been spending the last 3 hours working on the hide mechanic, and I believe I've gotten it pretty well done for a prototype version. So as you can see here is a hide box with a trigger and a tag. Now if I head over to the mechanic and show, there we go. So what I've done is I've gone in the player movement script and added little parts to work on the hiding mechanic. I will go ahead and explain these in just a moment. The first things I want to note down is that previously I had it so that there was a specific hide script by itself to go with the enemy. First, it was with the box itself, which caused problems in itself, so I changed it towards the player. But then it would cause problems as a separate script. I couldn't figure out how to grab the run speed from the player itself and then use it in my own. So what I've done instead is I've put it into the player script as of course shown here. So uh, these parts are just from the previous thing, and the new stuff is here. So if you go into the trigger of the other, which I've set it to a the hide test. I could also change it to the tag of the hide box if I wanted, but this was just for safekeeping for now. And then what would happen is if I entered the collision of the block, which is of course that hide block, it would set can hide to true, and it would set it off if of course I left it. But if we go here, if I can hide, so after if I'm inside of it, and then I press E, no, press down on E like I'm holding it, it would essentially ignore the collisions that's based off the hiding box that I've made, which is from, if I go on it and show you, the hiding box is set to the hide. So, as is of course shown here now, is that once the player holds down E inside of the cube, it will go ahead and disable that hide component. And then it would set is hiding to true so it can work with the other things, but it would also stop the player in his tracks so he cannot move. Next is the else, so that of course it continues from is hiding. So if you are still hiding and you release the key E, it would go ahead and reset the collisions so that you can get hit by the enemy, of course. Nothing happened so far except, of course, the debug of collided, but in the future, of course, I will try doing it so that when you get caught by the police, an event would happen that would lead you to dying, of course, and we had to reset. It would also restart the is hiding so that it works and you can start moving. So if I go in the video and give this a nice test run, so if I head over to the console and keep open on the hide, you can see that when I'm not in the box and press E, it'll pop up with not hiding because I'm not in a viable area, of course. I will be removing the debugs like this in the future, but for now, let's get up here. Of course, from my previous script, we do have the enemy turning and all that, so that if he does, of course, turn around and see us, we will get collided, of course, no matter where we are, and if, of course, he faces away, we won't. But if we hold E, it will disable the hide and it will tell us that we are hiding. Now, I cannot move, even though you cannot tell. But the other thing is that while he's looking at us, the collided won't happen. Now, if I release, we are no longer hiding, it re-enables, and then the arrow will go ahead and collide with us. So I've already mentioned that the problem I had before was it being in a separate script and I couldn't get them to link together. Other problems I had while being in the player movement side of things, if I go on screen, it includes that these features, the pausing of speed and that, was a separate thing in the fixed update. It was more like if is hiding, and then it would go on and do your thing, and then you had an else, of course, to do that, and then these were in there. The problem that happened was that because it's in the fixed update, it would constantly check over the run speed and all, meaning that no matter if I'm just not hiding or anything, my run speed will be at 100, of course. But that caused a problem with my jumping, so that if I were to hold down the spacebar, it no longer sets my speed to 0. So what I did to fix that was, of course, removing this, and then I went ahead and tried moving it up into the main update section. I also went ahead and modified some parts like the can hide so that I can have the input of a key code E. The problems I was facing here was I just had to get key E, and I had to go ahead and Google how inputs work in Unity. So I figured out you had to do key code dot. And then of course the only thing that was in here before was the is hiding. So all of these are new, were added from that is hiding to here, so that now it will go ahead and keep an eye on the speed, but won't mess it with the jumping speed. This has been one strenuous task to deal with, but it is great for my project because I want to get the level 1 complete in time. And my level 1 includes just this big obstacle of a police officer that will just keep looking. So if I go ahead and create a mini test level out of these blocky designs, I'll go ahead and post it around to a few close people and get feedback from them so that I can tell if my mechanic is fun or not. To me, I find it to be a fun idea that if I just make it in the right type of level, it'll work out. Another thing I could do in my level, if it's not fun enough, is I will program a enemy. I have a few ideas for an enemy and all that, but I won't go ahead and explain them here. I'll go explain them in the future. But anyways, that is my hiding mechanic, police officer searching, switching directions mechanic, and also yeah, the other thing is that it will only detect the tag that I've set it to, which is the 2 hide. So that's why I needed it, so that it disables the hide and not the box spot. Because if I disable the box spot, it will disable the camera and everything. So that is all.